Hi, my name is Per, and this is an issue of living with Linux. Actually, what happened a couple of days ago was this drive that you see here, it decided to stop working. So it was a physical issue, and I had Manjaro Linux installed on the drive, and then I thought, well, since we are in a situation where a lot of things should be remade, why not try a new distribution? So I decided to go for Linux. And of course, I need some kind of flavor. And here I went back to the mothership, Ubuntu. I have been a user of Ubuntu for years and years, but the last couple of years I went for Manjaro and Arch Linux. So it's kind of fun to return to the mothership. Now I have Ubuntu up and running, and here you see my drive. I'll move this thing a little bit away. You can also see that I have several programs up and running. So Ubuntu is running. I'm not going to show you how to install Linux and especially Ubuntu, because there are like tons of videos about that. But I do have a weird issue, and that is my hard drive. Because here you see the hard drive. It is mounted and it works, but the hard drive is mounted on what seems to be random places on the computer. So every time I make a shortcut or a symbolic link, as they are called technically, they simply do not work. And I have to fix this issue. Now I went online and I found this description here, or this idea that I will try out in a moment. And that is to go to a file called fstab, and then you should use the UUID of the drive in order to make it work. So let's see if that's the problem. Here we have my trusted terminal, and if we try to do something like cat ets fstab, then we can see what's inside the file and whether that's the issue. So here you see it, and you can see that at least one of the drives on SDA2 is there, but you can also see that the other one has kind of a weird mount thing going on here. So probably I will have to change the installation to something looking a little bit like this up here. So that's what I'm going to do in a moment. Let's see what happens when we write the command from the post. Here you see it. Here are the addresses of my hard drives, and if we go back to this one, you can see what should be edited. You can see that we have a UUID up here, and I guess that we still need to mount the last drive so that it will be correctly mounted at the position that I want it to be in. So first of all, let's go to somewhere where I want to mount it, and I think that I'll go to MNC. This is kind of old style Linux. That's where you mounted stuff in the old days, so why not do it? So I'll make a drive here. mkdir means make a directory, and I'll just call it hard disk. And see whether it is there and whether it looks okay. Seems okay, doesn't it? Now you can also see that the drive is actually mounted on top of it, but this position is kind of random. So I want this to be a thing that will happen every time. And that's why I have to edit the fstab file. So let's try to open up the file. So I'll say you can do this in Gedit or in Nano. Nano is one of my favorites, so let's try to do it. etc fstab here. And I should be sudo while doing it. If not, I cannot save the file. And here you see it. Here you can see that we have a drive. That's not the one. It should start with B8. I think this is what happens when fstab actually tries to install my drive. So this is, you see, it's B8 something-ish here. So where it should mount from is this position. And I'll just give it a headline. Edits from June 2020. And I'll just leave that one here. And then we have to take the information from BLK ID. I think I will simply do it like this. UUID equals, and then you have to write the name of the drive. And actually we could use or reuse this line here. So I think I'll just comment it out for the time being, and then we say uncut, Command O, that is. And we know that the ID is actually this very long string here. And when you use UUID, you have to write the mount point. So I'll say that it is MNT for mount. And then I called the hard disk. And if we open up another, window here, we could go to the MNT, just say ls MNT, and just see, is it correct? Yeah, I do have something called hard disk there. So it seems okay-ish, this thing. And then we have the mount, and we should write something like options. And I think that we would like to write ext4. And probably we could do the same thing as above. So I'll just copy that. Errors equals remount. This would be read only. That's probably a bad idea. I think I will do it in another way, but this is for the beginning. When I returned to the post on the web page about we can have a look at it here. From Stack Exchange, you can see that the person who wrote the post just set it the kind of drive to ext4, that is the file system. Then the options after it is defaults 0 and 2. So let's try that, see will it work, and will the drive actually mount where I want it to mount. That's kind of interesting. So I think I will write my file name now. I will leave it, and then we will of course try to write a cat just to see, was it saved? It seems fine, so I think that by now it should work, and if it does, I'll have to reboot and have a look at my drives and whether they look okay or not. But here at least you can see that my fstab file is, let's do it in a little bit nicer way here. This is the content of the fstab file, and now the drive should actually mount where I want it to be and not where Ubuntu thinks that it might be smart for the present day. Let's see what happens after I reboot. Now I have rebooted, and what you see here, this is my screen. I'm in Ubuntu again, and the first look at the file manager may be a little bit disappointing, but when you look at it, you can go to other places and you can have a look at the machine. And if we go to the MNT folder, you can see here is the folder I called Harddisk, and if we are lucky, we should be able to go in here, and here then we do have the different folders, and let's see what we can do here. Probably there is a thing with user rights and so on, but probably things will be okay. Let's just see, can I make a touch? Seems that I can. So I can create a file, and here it is. You can see it here. So I do have the right to read and write here. Do I have the right to remove it? Remove X again. And if you look here, you can see that the file has disappeared. So it seems that my drive is now mounted in the position where I want it to be, and not in a more or less random position chosen by Ubuntu. Here you see actually the folder from last attempt from Ubuntu. We can safely remove that folder by now because there's nothing for it to do. So I'll open the terminal just to tidy up things. And if you say ls, then you can say sudo superuser do. You can remember it by that. And if we go to the rm and then r, this means remove a directory or file or whatever it is. The r is redundant, that is, if there are like files and folders inside it, it will also remove that. And then we can say B8. And if you're very, very patient, you can of course type in all these letters, but why not just press tab? There we have it. So by now I should be able to just remove this and give my password. Here we have it. So what you see here is actually the mount partition. There is a little bit of work to do still, because I would like this link here to point to my folder, and that is actually possible. If I change to my home drive here and write ls, then you can see the red links here. This one is not pointing to my documents, and I would really like it to point in somewhere. This is Midnight Commander that I kind of tend to like. I would like it to point to this address here, and then you can see some old crap here. Probably I'll have to do some tidying up. But if I want to link to documents, I should have a symbolic link for MNT hard disk, my name, and then documents in Danish. So if we try to do it that, then I should remove this folder, and since it's a folder I have to add the R. Here you are. Now it's gone. And then we'll have to create a symbolic link, ln symbolic. This is the S. And then we have to point to MNT and hard disk and the username and documents. And then we have to give it a name. Here it is. Now let's try to restart this thing here, my Finder, and see whether it works. Now I click this one. It points to my documents all right. And if we go back, I can also click here and you can see my documents in there. So it seems that by now the computer actually works. I have set up the fstab file. So if we just have a look at it again, you can see now that the last part of it is actually working. So it seems that in the end, the kind of string you want to have after the technical name or ID of the disk, then you can just say defaults 0 and 2. And of course, you should remember the kind of disk system that we have, and then it actually works as we want it to. So this was a little tutorial almost about a little problem that I have on my system right now. When you live with Linux, you learn a lot. I would like to say that. So you kind of find out how the machine works, and even down to details like how a shortcut like this one here is working. So by now you can see that this one works, and I still have work to do with the other ones, but the principle is actually the same. So thank you for watching this video. If you like it, feel free to click like. If you want to subscribe and not miss another issue of living with Linux, then by all means feel free to click on that button. It's below here. So thank you for watching and hope to see you again. Bye bye.